Hello and welcome to On Point. I'm Serena Sandoval. Black Lives Matter is a movement inspired by the fight against anti-Black discrimination. It first began in 2012 after George Zimmerman was cleared of the murder of Trayvon Martin. Here at Cal State Northridge, many students gathered in early November for a Black Lives Matter event. These students say they think Black lives do matter.
I feel like it's really important to create awareness through the Black community, because a lot of the events and social, issues that are going on within the media is not out into the public.
But it was a great chance for Black people to unite, come together, gather around our social issues that are happening in our community, and finally have a chance to be highlighted in the media.
People are scared that the police would treat them that way. So I feel like people won't stand up because they're like, oh, I'm afraid like I might die, or I'm afraid that they might shoot me if they speak up. So I feel like us meeting today is really important so that they can see different ways that you can approach the police.
People in the media that are allowed to be in front in the media aren't gonna really say what needs to be said. So I wouldn't say that they're really making too much progress, but it needs to be like a collective mindset that needs to be established here.
The students are here to learn what they can do to support the cause and to share their experiences with each other. The event featured a panel discussion and was followed by several workshops. The workshops focused on topics like political activism and media morality.
I've always emphasized that, I think people should realize that you come in with baggage. You come in with your own lenses, and that you should work to overcome that, and you make an effort to weigh and approach both sides. But that you can't suppress or lie about the fact that you come in with a certain position.
These CSUN students are embracing Black Lives Matter, but not everyone has. Even the name has caused controversy. Some people, including several GOP presidential candidates, say they believe All Lives Matter would be a more appropriate title. But supporters of the movement say that controversy over the name takes away from the real problem.
People try to tone it down into All Lives Matter, when that's not really the issue. The actual issue is Black people being killed by police and other authorities, nothing happening to them.
On Point's Daisy Lightfoot has more on this topic.
Thank you, Serena. Today we have two guests joining us. We have Dr. Aimee Glocke from the Africana Studies Department and Wesley Williams, President of Black Male Initiative on campus. So my first question I'd like to pose to you, Dr. Glocke. What is Black Lives Matter and what is its purpose?
Okay, so Black Lives Matter came about after the assassination or murder, lynching, however you want to call it, of Trayvon Martin by George Zimmerman. And so it was three particular African American females who came up with the hashtag and the movement to try to bring attention to anti-Black racism, and not only just through the assassination through police officers who are killing unarmed Black men and women, but also for the fact of trying to bring attention to white supremacy and racism that is happening throughout the country experienced by Black people.
Okay. Wesley, anything to add?
Yeah, I was aware of the hashtag. Like, I know it came after the acquittal of the trial between George Zimmerman murder case against Trayvon Martin. Yeah, and there's been plenty of protests, but what a lot of people don't realize is it's to get policies changed so these tragedies get justice at the end of the day, and not just more Zimmermans free to the public.
Yeah, a lot of people think it's just specifically against police brutality and the lynching of, through the lynching of Black men and women through that, but it's actually even bigger of a movement. As you said, it's moving towards policy, moving towards solution to try to bring about change, right? So it's even bigger than that, although a lot of people like to reduce it to just the police brutality, but it ends up being bigger, like you said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of police officers are confused about the term. They think we're a rowdy group. People who support this movement, they think we're trying to cause trouble, but we just want our voices heard, and we want justice. Just recently, we held me with Black Male Initiative. We held an event here on campus, and police said they would not attend our event because the title was Black Lives Matter, which ultimately had us change the name to Do All Lives Matter, which isn't the mantra we're going with.
So you're talking about All Lives Matter. What is the difference between Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter?
Well, the difference is, the The difference is All Lives Matter was created to silence or be an opposition to Black Lives Matter. All Lives Matter is to say, by us saying Black Lives Matter, we think we are more important than anyone. But the reason why Black Lives Matter is the movement is because we're getting gunned down unarmed at an alarming rate, with much higher percentages than the other races. So to call attention to this problem, we want to say Black Lives Matter because it's obvious the other All Lives Matter, but Black Lives isn't the one that is being emphasized. So right now, we are in a time of crisis and we need attention. Just like if there's a hurricane victim, they are at that time in need of whatever services America has to provide. So right now, us as a Black people, we need these services and we need the attention to be cared for by law enforcement, which they are here to protect and serve, but it doesn't feel that way in our communities.
Right. And it's really to take the, like you said, take the emphasis off. I mean, this idea that, you know, and I guess I kind of relate it to Black Studies, is Black Study is about Black people and we're fighting for the liberation of Black people, but everybody benefits from that because when you reduce the obstacles that are standing in front of Black people and African people, it helps everyone. It helps Latinos, it helps Asians, it helps American Indians, it helps white people, poor white people. So we're about humanity at the end of the day because Black Studies helps all humanity. But right now our focus is Black people. And that's the same thing with Black Lives Matter. The focus is Black people because the highest percentage of people being gunned down right now are Black people. Second to that is American Indians. And what's interesting is like American Indians aren't standing up and saying, oh, American Indian lives matter because they know that they're included in the Black Lives Matter, right? So the All Lives Matter comes about to like distract the attention, right? Society always likes to stand up and wants the attention on them. So the idea is of course within Black Lives Matter, all lives do matter, right? But the idea is that the focus is right now Black lives because that's what's needed, right?
It's kind of like during our event, we had a keynote speaker, Mr. Jody Armour. He was a law professor at USC, and he gave the example of there's two houses. There's the perfectly standing house, and then there's the burning home. And because all houses matter, we're going to water down this perfectly fine house and leave this one burning and give them equal amount of water so use the resources equally when one needs it more than the other, clearly. That's the same opposition as all lives and Black lives. Black lives is the burning house. We're getting murdered. We're having the trouble with the police and all of that brutality right now, and everyone else isn't being affected by this dramatically.
So talking about that, I had seen something online regarding the differences between the burning houses and the regular standing house. So what impact do you think that media plays on Black Lives Matter? As far as social media, television, news outlets, things like that.
I believe it's huge because let's think about this. This Black Lives Matter may be a new hashtag, but this isn't a new concept. Well before the social media, this has been happening. Police have been murdering us. I grew up in Inglewood, California. Inglewood Police Department is historically known for murdering us. Like, that's known. Like, they really kill us. It always was happening. But now with social media, it's on news. You know, it's on social media. It's going viral now. So everybody getting to see this. So it's a lot more in our face now. They can't hide it. They can't hide it because they don't have the full control. They have the control of media as a mass because, you know, they have the TV networks. They own those. But they don't own what I post on my Instagram, my Twitter, my Snapchat. You know, those socially, and those go around, touch millions of people at a time.
You know, most people only know what they know about Black Lives Matter or All Lives Matter. All of that is through the media. And the media embraces, you know, white supremacy and racism. So how can we ever expect that the media is going to give us a fair portrayal of anything? They're going to take a situation and twist it so it works in their best interest and supports white supremacy. So these Black Lives Matter rallies, they're going to show, if any violence comes about, they're going to show the violence. They're not going to show the collaboration and the community and the collectivism. And I think a really good example of that is we just had the Million Man March, right? And how many news stations showed that? right? And the idea is here's a peaceful, wonderful, community-oriented movement that did revolve around Black Lives Matter, because there were definitely speakers from Black Lives Matter who were there, and that doesn't get shown on anything. Nope. But like one person, there's something that happens like between the police and a black male at one of these, or a black person at one of these rallies, and that's what they show. So it's all about manipulating the situation and picking pieces of the situation to put forth a particular message, which then the backlash becomes like all lives matter, because they're saying, oh, this is what it's about, and that's not it at all, right? So the media is not giving a proper representation of what's actually occurring, and they're using it in their best interest to perpetuate more stereotypes about black people.
And kind of piggybacking off that, this summer I did an internship in the Silicon Valley. I was working with Indian and Asian and white people, hardly any black people, maybe 3 that I got to work with at all out there. And we kind of shared our stories and background, and I tell them some of the stories of me growing up in my neighborhood that was just normal scenarios, and they were just so surprised. And the reason being is they're just sheltered. All they know is what they see on TV. Their perception of me is only what they saw on TV. And social media, I think, is given the aspect that doesn't get to be seen on TV, because they don't promote our unity, they don't promote our college graduates, our success stories, but all the poverty, all the thug activity. And I hate the word thug, because thug is a new N-word for the media. That's the way they get away with calling us that on TV. Sure. But I just say that to say social media isn't allowing knowledge to be spread at a very fast rate, and it's accessible to everyone, and so it's taking some of the control away from the media. Like the big media masses.
And we always encourage our students to use Facebook, to use Instagram, because even like when there were a lot of rallies going on, that's how people communicate, is through that. So I always tell my students, don't post something about the sandwich you ate, right? I talk about the community organization that you're doing, and the meeting that you're having, and the collective work that you're doing together. Like, post that on Facebook, post that on Instagram, post that on Twitter, like not something that doesn't matter, right? So use it as a form of activism and community building, because that's really how people can get messages out, is more of that every day, we take over, we use our own form of media to be able to speak.
So there obviously wasn't a lot of forms of media back in the civil rights era, during the civil rights movement. How do you feel the Black Lives Matter movement compares to the civil rights movement or the civil rights era?
I would say it's a younger version of it, so it's a lot of young people trying to lead this, but I think it was a lot more unity back then. We're a lot less unified right now, and that's kind of why they a little more successful and stuff. I think the leaders that they had back then, there's not really any black leaders. Most of the people we see with a lot of influence or puppets. They don't really support us or represent us largely, and publicly at least. Like, I hate Raven-Symoné. She's disgusting. I don't like what is she doing? She won't hire someone with a ghetto name show, she says, but she looks like someone in the community right now with her hair and all that. So she says she's not black. She's like, what does she call herself? Dark white or something? Something weird like that. But I digress. But I say that I don't think we have those leaders out there willing to put themselves on the forefront and make a change happen. We have there's a lot of if all these athletes, entertainers got together as one conglomerate, they have money and resources, and they can make it happen. They have the power to change young minds. Because we influenced by whatever they do now. We see them wear that. We want to wear that. We see them say that. We want to say that. I do applaud J. Cole. I like how he's using his influence. He's right there down in all the marches and everything, right there with people. But with a peaceful voice, which I think the people as a whole is, I think we need a militant voice like Malcolm X. I think they need to know that, it could be this or that. And you need to choose which way you guys want to go about this so we can live civilized together. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point about leaders, and one of the things we always talk in our Africana Studies class is about who appoints the leaders. Are they appointed in the black community? Are they appointed from the outside? by society, or are they appointed from the inside? And what's really interesting is like you can understand through their purpose and function, because there's been some black leaders in the past, like Jesse Jackson went to, I think he was in Ferguson, he got booed. Right? So the question we have to ask is like who are the leaders in the black community in terms of like who are the ones that are on CNN? Are those the people that the black community elected, or is that from the outside saying, oh no, you need to speak for black people, right? So like questioning these things, but these are all the things that we try to teach in Africana Studies, as well as also knowing what the civil rights movement is, what the Black Power movement is, what the Black Studies movement was, because we all came out of that trajectory. Black Studies is here because of the Black Arts movement, Black Power movement, and Black Studies. Like students, faculty, community fought for us to get here, right? So the beautiful thing is when we teach that to the students, then you guys get a foundation, right? And then you can use that foundation to move forward and to help Black Lives Matter even move over forward. But Black Lives Matter would look very different if that foundation wasn't there, which of course it is, but I'm saying for the participants, which makes it so important, because then the students can even make those comparisons themselves. Okay, so what is a Black Lives Matter? How does that relate to the civil rights movement? How does that relate to the leaders in the civil rights movement? How does that relate to Black Power? What about Black arts, right? Because there's a lot of artistic part of the Black Lives Matter movement as well, right? You're talking about J. Cole, who's part of it.
So you mentioned leadership. How vital do you think it is to have one central point of leadership within the Black Lives Matter movement? Because I know there have been people that attempted to not necessarily discredit, but call attention to the fact that there's not one leader of the Black Lives Matter movement. Do you think that that's essential, Dr. Glocke?
No, because there's several leaders in the movement, and I feel like that is a phenomenal way to go, because the idea is then there's a collective voice, there's different perspectives within it. I mean, the black women who came up with Black Lives Matter, that even includes like black same-gender loving lives within that as too, because they've been very, very open about including, you know, the black trans individuals who have been murdered by the police, and black GLBTQ people who have been murdered also. So the idea is with those collective voices, you get a variety of different perspectives, and that really represents the black community. So, and personally, I think that's phenomenal that there's several leaders who are moving it together, because then there's like that voice and that inclusiveness of the different voices in the black community.
Wesley?
I agree that there should be many leaders, as there is now. You know, different communities, different people are leading their voice and change. But I circle back to what I said earlier. I think the black people who have the most influence should use it for right, use it for good. Like, if Beyonce came on here and like she used her Instagram or her Twitter for that purpose solely, I'm pretty sure she got like 2 million followers. It's 2 million people ready to jump when she say jump. You know, Jay-Z, Diddy, you know, Future, Drake. If they really wanted to be activists in the community and really make change, they have the funds and the resources to make change happen. So it's the people who we give the power as the black community, because we make you a celebrity, we have given you power. Right. The people have given you that. And we can easily take it away too. When artists stop selling us because the people took away their power. You guys don't have anything, but these people, we put them on this high totem pole, hold them accountable. Like I don't personally do not wear Michael Jordan clothing, anything that has his name. I won't wear a Hanes t-shirt, nothing, Nike, nothing, because they don't like black men. Michael Jordan invests in private prison. Nike uses prison labor. That don't support me and my morals, so guess what? I remove myself. I don't care if it's cool. Drake and Future got a song called Jumpman right now. I'll turn 23 next month. Don't call it my Jordan year, because it's not that. You know, so the people who's in a position of power and have the influence won't use it for good, when those are the people who the black people really need. And because they don't care is why white America don't care.
Well, and I think that even goes to like one of the most pivotal parts of going back to your question about the civil rights movement is economic boycott, right? This idea that the Montgomery bus boycott ends not because the white society in that city was like, oh yeah, let's integrate, this is great, this is beautiful, we love black people now. It was more or less the fact that the buses were going to go bankrupt, right? So I think you bring a really good point about forcing leaders, however you want to define it, celebrities, whatever, to be accountable. And if they're not accountable, then if, you know, Beyonce's not going to do anything, then let's not buy her records anymore. Right? But it's really interesting to try to like shift that perspective and get people to see that, to say, well, what, you know, asking questions about what are you doing for the black community and how are you using your influence to positively affect the community.
And she touched on a point, exactly. I always tell people this, hurt them where their pocket is. You know, if we stop buying the music, stop buying the clothes. You know, Tommy Hilfiger openly does not like black people. I see black people with Tommy Hilfiger on because it's said in a song or they wearing it on TV.
For sure.
You don't want us. I'm not gonna wear your stuff. Like if we hurt them in their pockets, you know, a lot of these companies target. We're known as a consumer people. So a lot of some research has been done where if you market it towards black people, because they're a consumer, we're gonna buy it. Like these little hoverboards that's going around. Like people are buying this and it's like fruitless. Like why are we making people rich and none of that money is going in our communities?
And there is an economic piece to this as well, because I know that I've seen a lot of like things on Instagram and Facebook about like don't shop the day after Thanksgiving, right? So this idea of trying to make a statement in terms of like saying if the black community throughout the country does not spend money on this day, then it goes back to that economic boycott. So I know that there's some things that are planned for the future with that as well.
So I do want to bring the conversation on more of a home front. I know that the Africana Studies Department is celebrating its 46th year anniversary. So what do you think right now is the state of black issues at Cal State Northridge?
Well, there was recently an article released, which I was interviewed for, about CSUN African American male graduate rates. On average, it takes the African American male 7.5 years to graduate from the university. And that's because we're not supported. We historically come from backgrounds where we're probably first generation college students. That's already lacking because, you know, people who come from families that have been to college before, they can kind of tell them what to expect and this and that. Our counselors come in, they don't really tell you, they just tell you pick some easy classes, you know, figure out while you get here, or they may tell you to take some hard classes and not let you figure out where your skill set is here. But they don't tell you you need 15 units a semester to realistically graduate in 4 years.
Right.
Classes that you need are impacted. You can't really even get those classes that you need to graduate in those 4 years. On top of these things, we start off in developmental courses that don't count for anything. So I took a 5-unit math class. I don't know why the developmental math class is 5 units when the regular math class is only 3. So that doesn't make any sense, but now I have 5 units that doesn't count for nothing, but it's still eating at my financial aid money too. You know, when you stay here longer, you run out of financial aid the longer you stay here. So that's an aspect of it. So I got a 5-unit course, and don't let me start in the first level because there's 2 developmental classes, an English and a math. And if I have to take them both semesters, what's that? 10 units on the math, 6 units on the English. That's 16 units I'm behind. That's a whole semester. Mind you, I only took 12 units a semester anyway, so that's another additional 6. So that's 21 units I'm behind. And then in the following year, I'm still going to take those same 12, but I'm still considered a freshman. So I'm already got at least a year and a half tacked on already. But they don't, when you come in, they don't give you the guidance so you can graduate in that time period.
Yeah, and there's a lot. I mean, as an Africana Studies faculty member, we are aware of all these things and we're working on it. I mean, in terms of like recruitment of more black students on campus, we've been trying to go to more high schools to try to let people know, and not only just about CSUN, but know that we have Africana Studies department. I had a student who came to my office today and she's like, I didn't even know that we had an Africana Studies department here. And I was like, dang, how do you not know? But some people don't know. So we have recruitment issues. We also have retention issues in terms of like retaining the black students on campus because we're in the middle of the valley, right? And in terms of even like location. And then of course we have issues with graduation. So we and I'm also an advisor in Africana Studies, so we're trying to make sure that we can get the students the classes that they need. We're helping them through because it's not easy to navigate through CSUN. I mean, there's 42,000 students. It's very easy to come to CSUN and just get lost in the shuffle, which is why really in Africana Studies, we try to make this home base for the black students so they can come in, feel comfortable. We'll help them with their classes, making sure they know what they're supposed to be doing in terms of like what their requirements are, and then just trying to like mentor the students as well. But there's not a lot of us. I mean, we only have like 11 faculty members for all the students. So these are things that we're definitely moving towards, like the SAP score in terms of the SAP percentage that you have to pass in order to get financial aid. Right. You know, I'm working with some students now who, you know, left in 1970, 1990, 2000, 2004, they got stopped out, and really trying to help them to get back to CSUN so that they can get their degrees. So there's a lot of work we have to do at CSUN to make the students not only feel comfortable, but also to ensure that they have all the skills and tools they need to graduate.
So I do want to
before 7 years.
So I do want to ask, in 50 or 100 years, when historians look back on the beginning of the 21st century, what do you hope that they'll say about the Black Lives Matter movement? Dr. Glocke?
Wow. That it followed in the trajectory of the ancestors and elders from before. This idea of continuing on of what has happened in the past and using those tools and finding out what worked during the Civil Rights Movement, Black Power movement, anti-apartheid movement, like what worked in that and what didn't work, and then being able to use that knowledge and that information to build and to move forward. So I think really just standing on the shoulders of the elders and ancestors who came before and being able to use that as a way to make more positive change.
Great. Wesley?
I only hope that it's covered and covered correctly in our history books. Yeah. How many movements do you know actually make it to our history books and is actually in the curriculum of what you need to learn or get tested on while you're in high school?
None.
You know, so like all I know about my history I learned here at the university level, you know, like Nat Turner and everything. I always wondered if we rebelled, you know, and then I got to see that side of my history, and I was very proud at that point, because I always told myself if I was a slave, there's no way I probably would have died. I would have tried to rebel, and like couldn't just believe that everybody was obedient. So I don't like that history that they try to put in our head, because there was people who tried to do a rebellion against. I just hope that the Black Lives Matter movement gets written correctly, and it actually does reach the history books, and the people before us get to know, the people after us get to know what happened before them.
And I think that even works with like the agency. Then it has to be written by the people who are doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So I think that's a really key point too. Like I hope that everyone's taking part in the Black Lives Matter, and I think we hopefully are on that track if we can like put together all the Instagram posts and like the Twitter feeds. Like, you know, I think that that's going to be really interesting to see how we progress forward and we use that to help write history.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Dr. Glocke and Wesley. Really appreciate you guys coming.
No problem.
You're welcome.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. Get Fire Adapted now. Learn simple steps at fireadapted.org.
Thank you for watching On Point. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at CSUN On Point. You can hear us on KCSN 88.5 FM on Sunday mornings at 5:30. You can also watch us on LA 36, also Sunday mornings at 11:30. For all of us here at On Point, thank you for watching. I'm Serena Sandoval.